Well, hi there. So Laura from Firebird Summit. Welcome to this week's video. So I wanted to talk today about something that kind of came up as a result of this Monday's email. So on Monday's email, I wrote about kind of giving yourself space to figure out what it is that you want, and really the fact that that is actually work, and you do need to dedicate time and effort to it. One of the things I put in that email, though, which turns out resonated a lot because I heard from a lot of people about it, was the beginning of that process when you realize that you have to make a change, when you have that moment of thinking, holy crap, I can't face another 20 years of this same thing. Now, I was specifically talking about work, but I do a lot of transformation work with a lot of people on a lot of fronts, and that's kind of a common sentiment that comes up a lot. It doesn't matter whether it's a new business or changing your family, whether it's getting divorced or losing a parent or kids going off to college or big health issues that cause changes. All of those things are big transformations, and there's a lot of work that goes into each of them and getting them to a point where you can feel good about how you've managed it and where you're going. The thing that definitely comes up the most in my work, though, is people who are trying to make career changes. And that becomes a very common recurring theme, because more often than not, when someone realizes, oh my God, I can't face doing this for another 20 years, they're often stuck with a backlash of shoulds. You should feel grateful that you have such a great career. You should feel grateful that you have such a comfortable lifestyle. You should feel grateful that you have such a beautiful home, and there's all of these shoulds that start making us feel guilty about not wanting to continue down the path that we're on. And so when I start doing transformation work with people, my focus really is around finding a way forward. And that usually starts with what I call the 3 pillars and the 1 fence. So the 3 pillars in this work for me are your core strengths, your values, and your passions, and what you really, really want to have as your legacy at the end of your career. The constraints are your responsibilities. As much as obviously I'm a fan of getting rid of everything I own and leaving the country, I realize that that's not everybody's reality. So whether it's kids that have to go to college, or providing healthcare for your family, whether it's a specific income level, or taking care of your parents, everybody has some responsibilities that any new plan has to take into account. So the starting point of this for me is really strengths, and this is something that I find enormously useful, even if you're just starting to think about what you want to do next. So the strengths tool that I like the best is by Gallup, and it's called the Clifton Strengths Assessment. It's very soundly rooted in a lot of data and more than 40 years of strengths-based research that's been done by the Gallup organization. But here's the thing, there's some really, really important reasons that I find this to be a really valuable place to start when you want to make a change in your career, but you don't know what it is yet. First one is that most of us who are successful in our careers get in the habit of identifying and articulating our strengths within the context of that career. So for me, for a long time, I was a great project manager, and then I was a great manager at managing other project managers, and I understood the technology and infrastructure, and there were things about that environment that I was particularly good at. I was good at handling clients, which made the professional services part really good, really effective, and made me successful there. But the thing is that those strengths only work as long as you're in that environment. And so when it's time to start thinking about, God, what else do I want to do for a living? If you're only looking at your strengths through the lens of a specific industry or a specific set of roles within an industry, it's a very myopic view that's not going to help you expand your thinking to look at how you can apply that to other areas and other potential industries. So the second reason I like taking a look at your strengths in depth is specifically because it starts giving you some new language to use to articulate what value you can bring to another organization or another industry or another role. And the most important thing you can do in that process is to confidently believe that the assets you bring to a role can actually contribute value. But you need the language around that. And again, trying to find that, if you're only looking at your strengths within the context of your historical career, doesn't help you frame a narrative to go forward into a new industry or a new space. So then finally, the last piece is that it really helps create sort of a common denominator that allows you to look at other industries. Once you know that your strengths are, you have strengths in the relationship building front and very specifically how they break those down, or in the, strategic category and some of the subcategories they have there, it helps you start looking at other industries and other roles through those lenses. Where does this particular set of strengths actually have a lot of applicability? Once you can start separating out your job and the industry you've lived in and the types of roles you've had from your innate talents that transcend that context, it helps you start distilling out options so that you can apply those contexts or apply those strengths in other contexts, and then go out and tell somebody why it is you will be valuable to their organization, and really start to build your new plan. So my question for this week, if you quieted all the shoulds about all the reasons you think you should be grateful and just acknowledge, I don't want to do this anymore, I want to make a change. What are the things that you think you could take into a new role or a new position that make you uniquely valuable and uniquely advantageous for a new potential opportunity? Have a great week. I'll talk to you next week.